Hey, everybody. Happy Sunday. It is December 19th, and this is your Sunday submission for the day after Jake Paul versus Tyron Woodley 2 and the final UFC event of the 2021 year, UFC Vegas 45, I believe the number was, right? Great card, lots of finishes. I mean, knockouts were definitely the theme of the night. We might as well get to the news at hand that nobody really, I guess we didn't really want to talk about it, but I mean, we have to talk about it. It's how we're closing out 2021. I guess it's a almost symbolic of how things are going for a lot of folks. But before we do, if you're watching this on YouTube, which you probably are because I'm not streaming it today, I normally stream this on my Twitter. You can follow me on Twitter at Carbazel. And this will be at, if you're not doing the YouTube channel subscription, we have interviews with Jeff Neal after his UFC 269 victory and Alexander Rakic on the YouTube channel, courtesy of the Canadian God James Lynch. So if you're not doing the thumbs up notification, bell notification, thumbs up, all that, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Please make sure that you do. And all right, well, let's get right into it. Again, I'm not streaming this. I normally stream it on my Twitter every Sunday, but excuse me, we're going through all the seasons here in New Jersey. So my throat is plus I tied one on last night, and that usually has an interesting after effect. Recording this a little later. Again, I normally stream it on Twitter live, but and upload this to the MMAnews.com YouTube channel. But schedule was thrown off yesterday. I had some friends competing in the here in New Jersey at Grappling Industries, and I went there to check that out. So that kind of put me behind, which is why I'm about an hour behind, which is why I'm recording this so late on the Sunday after everything, because I had to catch up on everything that happened after I got home after the thing from yesterday that I was at here in New Jersey. So let's get the bad news out of the way. It's not bad news. I mean, I'm not trying to, I'm not trying to knock anybody. I don't like to do that. Because I mean, listen, we had quite a few matches on the overall, what they call this, Leave No Doubt was the name of the pay-per-view from Showtime. Jake Paul versus Tyron Woodley 2. Amanda Serrano, Anthony Taylor, lots of familiar names on the cards that accompany this new version of boxing, I guess we can call it. Somebody said something interesting last night, like folks that they kind of did of early career comparison of Floyd Mayweather to what Jake Paul is doing. How Floyd Mayweather had beaten an 0-4 fighter when he was making his way. So, excuse me, this is Jake Paul's. Is he now? Is it 4-0? I have to look up his record. Right, he did the basketball guy was like, I have to. It's hard to remember because we always kind of write it off, but he knocked out his second mixed martial arts champion. All right. We have to remember how Ben Askren was 16-0 before he decided to come to the UFC. Was it 16-0? I mean, he was undefeated before he got to the UFC and suffered his first losses. He actually retired from MMA as one of the greatest welterweights. There was a debate at a time that he was one of the greatest welterweights in mixed martial arts before he went to the UFC, because he had fought in Bellator. He made his career in Bellator, then went to one championship and dominated there. Then got to the UFC, and the meme knockouts were created. Then he goes to fight Jake Paul, and he was supposed to represent MMA in boxing. I don't know how we're gonna get over this, right? As long, and I say this all the time, I've said this on Sunday Submission a bunch of times. As long as we have mixed martial artists fighting under the rule set of boxing, the senior man in the favored rule set is going to be the one that is awarded the W. Right? It keeps happening, and like it. I don't. Who's proven me wrong yet? Well, Anderson Silva, right? Maybe he was Anderson Silva. He beat Chavez. I'm trying to think who else. But more often than not, you know, and Jake Paul has been training in boxing. He's training with boxers in legit boxing gyms. He's young, right? And if you have the resources and the time to put in and take it as seriously as he seems to be taking it, we're going to keep getting results like this. Okay? So, and he won. So we're probably going to see another one of these. There's talks. I mean, he's calling out Masvidal. He's calling out Nate Diaz, Kamaru Usman, and Masvidal put out a. I'm sure MMA News will have an article about it soon. Masvidal put up a response to his call out because Masvidal, he pretty much said he only fights real fighters under the rules of real fighting, which mixed martial arts. And I know boxing fans hate to hear this, but mixed martial arts is the closest we're going to get to an actual fight. Boxing, and I like boxing. My father boxed. It's the original combat sport. I still tune into boxing when there's nothing else going on. So I'm not trying to knock boxing. I wrote I was the MMA guy at a boxing website before I got to MMA News and Sherdog and all that from Proof Media. Um, so I'm not trying to knock boxing. I know boxing fans like to get offended quickly. Um, but I'm not trying to knock boxing. But the definition of fighting, like I used to say, I'm watching the fights too. Fight night, when boxing was on HBO. Boxing was probably my favorite era of boxing. Roy Jones Jr., Juan Marquez. I'm trying to think of all the guys I used to follow back then. The Prince Nassim Hamed era of boxing, like that was my favorite time in boxing. Um, but but that's boxing, like a martial art. There's specific martial arts. There's wrestlers. There's always someone with a base. In boxing, in my opinion, both wrestling and boxing are martial arts, and that is the base of the rule set that they're competing under. Tyron Woodley's as a mixed martial artist who came from wrestling. Yes, he's got knockouts to his resume, UFC champion. But when you take away a lot of the tools that made him, what he was, he's still the less experienced boxer in the ring in comparison to Jake Paul, who's zeroed in and focused on that, and is younger. You know what I mean? So I don't want to like try to make it sound like I'm knocking boxing or the fans or anything like that. So, but as long as we keep getting that, we're gonna keep. As long as we keep doing that, we're gonna keep getting what we've got, right? So, Masvidal's point in his response to Paul calling him out was like, come to the cage, come to the UFC, do a one fight contract, let Dana White figure out whatever money he wants to throw at him, train as long as you want. They did it with CM Punk, right? You can do it. It's certainly possible. Um, give him time and fight under the more varied rule set of mixed martial arts. I mean, I know Triad Combat tried to with Triller Fight Club is supposed to be the answer to that, but it's really not. It's really not. Like it's still just dirty boxing in the sense that it's just boxing. Okay, yeah, you can do a spinning back fist, you can clinch a little bit. It's still just dirty boxing, which is still under the boxing, if you're looking at a hierarchy tree of combat sports, it's still just that, right? So I'm just I'm just I wrote an article for Sherdog where I thought that the best rule set for all these guys that say they're the best fighters, no matter where they fight, I think the best rule set is the one that Karate Combat has because it allows for just basic kicks. Someone can train and be pretty devastating. Give them 6-8 months, maybe a year, to do front kicks and roundhouse kicks. To the body. Karate Combat has the best rule set for all these guys to come in and settle it. I mean, shout out to Adam Kovacs, president of Karate Combat, for coming up with it, and I still stand by that because I mean, there's just very basic takedowns allowed. The strikes that anyone can regular punches. I think there's no hooking punches allowed, but they could modify it in some way. If they could create rules for Triad, you could create rules to make it really truly even the playing field. So Jake Paul, of course, won last night, and not only did he win, and the I can't play this for you. We have the highlights up at MMAnews.com. You know why I can't play it for you? I was waiting on photos. Amanda Westcott. This is for ESPN, but the promotion hired Amanda Westcott to shoot photos, and I'm waiting on the photos to get sent from the PR company that handled all this. But there were some great mad boxing matches on the card. Mainly this one with Amanda Serrano, where she picked up another win against Miriam Gutierrez, unanimous decision. So it went the distance. Folks, of course, were knocking the card because of that. The only knockout on the card was the main event. But it's one of those things where, again, I mean, Jake Paul's been just training boxing, and granted, Woodley's trained striking, but striking for MMA and strike, it's just I'm pretty sure I've said this here before. Striking for MMA is different than striking for boxing. Same as wrestling for wrestling, training wrestling for wrestling versus wrestling for MMA, and jujitsu for MMA. We actually had a discussion with one of my training partners that competed yesterday because his style of grappling suits because he competed MMA too. Suits mixed martial arts better than sport jiu-jitsu, where you see a lot of leg locks and a lot of funny inverted stuff, which really doesn't translate well to when you add other rules. So are we going to see this again? Do we want to see a trilogy? Probably not. We'll probably get, if they even do I don't think the Tommy Fury, Jake Paul is even on the radar anymore. So, I mean, the reason why I bring it up, if you look, the last time Jake Paul and Woodley did this, Anthony Taylor was on that card, and he fought Tommy Fury. So that was supposed to be, I don't know how that got booked as the original main event, because Anthony Taylor's a mixed martial artist who keeps losing by decision, but boxers aren't able to knock him out. I know the Chris Avila is actually, that's a rivalry thing or whatever, but he's Jake Paul's sparring partner, right? So Jake Paul has the benefit of sparring and boxing under boxing rules against a mixed martial artist like Anthony Taylor, who's got great takedowns and stuff like that. Anthony Taylor's a great mixed martial artist, but he's doing this because he's making way better money. So, but the reason why I bring it up because he's a great kid too. Fought in Bellator, fought in what's I'm slipping my mind of the European promotion. He prefers to fight overseas. I've interviewed him multiple times for other outlets, but so Anthony Taylor is one of these guys that is kind of showing mixed martial artists can do it. Frank Mir did this in the one of the Triller Fight Clubs. He lost a decision to Sean Cunningham, USS Cunningham, who's held titles in boxing, and he went the distance with him and lost. So you can get used to it, but how many more times do we want to see? I don't know how many combat sports competitors Jake Paul can find from other martial arts or other combat sports to headline and do stuff like this with pay-per-view and with Showtime and Espinosa and them. So I don't know, man. We were hoping Woodley would take it home for us, and he didn't. Contrary, the opposite happened. Who knows? Up is down, left is right. I mean, it's been a crazy year. It's been a crazy year to say the least. So, but that's not to say that we didn't get anything worth noting as far as fighting and finishes go. Because on the other side of the spectrum, the UFC Vegas 45 happened in the Apex. We got tons of highlight reel finishes. Main event was Derek Lewis versus I'm just trying to scroll down so I can bring this up to you, Chris Duckhouse. They put him upside down. Chris Duckhouse knocks him out in the first round. So, I mean, let's bring up the card so we can just I can't play any of the finishes, but again, go to MMAnews.com. Tons of UFC content for you at MMAnews.com, including all the back and forth between Amanda Nunes and Pena after their stuff we just published. So, but let's count these. We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 finishes. 9 finishes on a 13 fight card, which is crazy. It's funny because Dana White said something that I always say to my podcast co-host. These cards that always get kind of like flicked off as oh, it's not that great, or it's not that stacked, and they always wind up being one of the best cards that they hold all year. This was one of them. First of all, Cub Swanson fought on this card. He was the first fight. He fought Darren Elkins. I feel like every time they match Cub Swanson, it's so that they could it's so that they could kind of like use him as a stepping stone for another fighter. And every time that vibe hits me, I just feel like Cub Swanson shuts it down, and he did that with this fight. I've been on fan of Cub Swanson forever. For I can't count. I've lost count of how many of his fights. I've always had him picked to win. I always have to submit my picks to Sure Dog, so you can see I had him picked to win. He's just someone that comes to bring it. Emotional celebration for him with his family in the ring afterward. If you didn't see it, you should check it out. There's a fight. 3 fighters missed weight, if you didn't know. One of them that I picked to win was Sajara Eubanks. I don't know if the highlight is on here. I'm pretty sure it's just main card highlights. But there's a body kick that's Angela Hill's fight. I don't think it's on here. Yeah. There's a body kick that you can check it out for yourself. I have no idea why they must do it as it happens. Not my article. So, but there's a body kick that Melissa Gatto throws to Sajara Eubanks right in her liver. And I mean, if folks will call it a teep. I mean, if you look at the way there's a difference between a teep kick and a snap kick from karate. The snap kick has more power. Some people can train the teep so much that it has a lot of power. If you get caught with either way, if you get caught with a strike in your liver, if you've never been hit in the liver, I don't advise it. Unfortunately, I've been dropped by quite a few times with liver shots, and I know the pain. So every time I see it happen, it's you can't help no matter how much you try to fight it. There's guys, I want to say there's fighters off the top of my head. I can't think of whom, but there are fighters that have fought through the liver kicks and tried to go on, but it's rare because the pain is it doubles you over. There's let me see if I can find his name because he's probably a good follow on Twitter. I just retweeted it earlier. Where's the guy's stuff? I want to read it because he explains like the here he goes. Kevin Nicholson, who's a physical therapist, and he does like injury commentary. So he talks about the automatic nervous system reaction to a hard kick in this area will still cause pain, drop in heart rate, drop in blood pressure. And that's why you double over, because he says the body seeks a horizontal position to normalize blood pressure and maintain blood flow to the brain. I mean, I didn't even know that as someone that's taken liver shots and freaking seen as many, but that's what happens. You bend over to the point that you usually fall to the side. If you watch the fight with Eubanks, it happens. You usually fall to the side that you got hit on too. Like your liver's here on your right side. Even if you poke yourself like the way I'm doing it right now, you're gonna feel somewhat how sensitive the liver is. But anyway, you fall to your side on that side and you bend over, and it's a pain you really can't ignore. Even Eubanks tried to grab her foot to keep the fight going, but the fight was over. like Boss Rutan says, a liver shot, man. I mean, you love to see him. I had Sajara Eubanks pick to win. I didn't like that she missed weight. It was weird because I was making the picks in my mind, back in my mind. I was like, I hope she doesn't miss weight, and she did. Um, I'm trying to think. There was an odd north-south position move during the card last night. And then Derek Lewis in the main event did what everybody expected. The co-main event with Bilal Muhammad and Stephen Thompson, that went to a unanimous decision, and I know folks were trying to knock Bilal for, like, a boring fight or whatever, but I mean, there's certain ways to beat certain guys, and he did what he had to do to beat Thompson. I actually like seeing fights like that. When if you go to any you go to any martial arts gym or mixed martial arts gym now or fight club or whatever, when you're training to fight, usually they one of the things they try to tell these guys is you want to make the person, even in specific martial arts, you want to make your opponent fight the fight that you're comfortable fighting, right? So if you're a leg lock guy, you're going to be constantly going for leg locks and making the try to entangle the legs. um Stephen Thompson's a rangy fighter. He's karate based. He likes it. He likes to fight at range and stuff like that. He usually does well against wrestlers, but the way you shut that down is to pressure in and do what we saw in this fight. So I know folks were trying to knock Muhammad for that, but I mean, if the guy has a potential to drop you and finish you, and with the rate of the finishes last night, being in that position on the card, Muhammad was probably like, yeah, I really need to not be on the sour end of one of these finishes. So shout out to him, because I mean he's keeping his name up there in the welterweight division. I'm trying to think. Oh man, I've been on the Ricky Simone hype train for a while, and that was like the Rafael Asuncion knockout was definitely the fight to. If he wasn't on your radar, you got to get Ricky Simone on your radar. And I know that highlight is on here too up at MMAnews.com. I'm trying to think, what else do we have to talk about before I talk about Derek Lewis and the stuff that was said in the post-fight press conference. I just want to make sure I got it. There's so much. I mean, when there's so many finishes, it's hard to you don't want to leave anyone out. But man, might as well get into it so that we have time to get into it. So Derek Lewis gets the knockout Chris Duckhouse first round, right? Now, one of the things that when they spoke with Dana White, Dana White's ready to hang up and take his break for it's like 3 or 4 weeks we have with no UFC before they come back. So one of the things that they said was because Derek Lewis likes being this type of fighter. He doesn't want to do 5-rounders because he knows his cardio has been an issue, which is why he likes to get the early finishes, right? Cool that he acknowledges that he was in shape for it. So the Cyril Gane fight with Ngannou, somebody alluded to like him being ready as a backup. With everything going on, we've got the Omicron variant and logistics, and I know they even asked Dana White about, like, they're talking about going to Brazil and places like that, but they're also very concerned about what's going on in the world and where they can and can't go. His backup is obviously, what he say, Houston, Apex, Florida, Texas. Like he just recited, like, they'll do that over and over again because one of the things Dana White did say was they got through what he hopes is, and I agree with him, knocking on wood and everything, what he hopes was the worst part of with everything going on with COVID. The UFC was able to get through 2020 and a bunch of other organizations. So he hopes they can navigate the coming year and whatever. Hopefully we can get some more positive out of the year than I mean, it's been crazy. I mean, we just I mean, the news came out this morning. If you didn't hear it, I'm mentioning it now. Jordan Young, who just fought in the PFL, seemed to have passed away from American Top Team. MMA Junkies got an article out on it. There's no details on what happened, but 27 years old. It's been a rough year. So hopefully we can get 2022, better things happening in the world. Doesn't seem like it, but we have to be positive and be present and forward thinking, right? But anyway, speaking of forward thinking, so with that forward thinking, um, they were like, to told Derek Lewis to keep his phone on or kind of stay ready to fill in for either man that would be for a title. And it's funny because Derek Lewis seemed hesitant, as Derek Lewis is, he's MMA gold as far as like the entertainment factor and comedy goes. But he was kind of like, you know, do I stay ready and be ready for 5 rounds, especially coming out after the holidays? I mean, I would imagine everyone's going to pack on some pounds. I've already packed on a few myself with Thanksgiving behind me, but to keep his phone ready to fill in, and he's more keen on fighting. I think he said he wouldn't mind fighting. He definitely said he wants the money. He wouldn't turn down the money, but to be ready for that, he definitely he's always hard on himself though. I know, especially when if he wins a decision or something, we've seen Derek Lewis be hard on himself. So I don't know. It would still be a headlining fight. I mean, it's uh it's just crazy to see how busy combat sports is, especially with everything going on. I mean, look, we even got new promotions coming out, so it's definitely the sports on the rise. You got Khabib Nurmagomedov's promotion, Eagle Fighting Championships, will be out next year. Showtime. Anthony Pettis just announced his own fighting promotion that's going to be on UFC Fight Pass. So, it's been a good year for not just the UFC. I mean, as much people like to hate on the UFC, the better they do, the better other organizations are going to do. You know what I mean? It's just going to be a better. It's better for the fighters, and hopefully that means they get paid a little more. um, because I know that's an issue with the UFC and Jake Paul coming at Dana White after his thing last night. His thing is to always attack the way Dana White pays the fighters. So it's definitely should be an interesting year for MMA in 2022. I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I mean, what do we have to look forward to? We've got the 135 Bantamweight Grand Prix at Bellator. I mean, the UFC will keep doing what they're doing. I know that if you didn't watch, I mean, if you're not a grappling fan, you probably didn't watch the Fight Pass Invitational. That happened this week. And they had so it's kind of like Quintet. If you're not familiar with Quintet, it's like this attrition team grappling thing. They've done it before. That they called it. I think it was called Quintet Ultra. So for the grappling fans that like to subscribe to streaming services and Fight Pass, I mean, because Submission Underground, Chael Sonnen's grappling promotion might be going to Flow. I mean, Flow Sports, which was on Fight Pass, and I enjoyed it a lot. So it looks like there's a lot of new things coming out under the UFC's business umbrella. Fight Pass is part of that, and that's why I'm bringing it up. So I don't know what else to look forward to, or what else they can do. One of the things Dana White talked about after UFC Vegas 45 was the token sales of the Panini's NFTs. And if you're probably tired of seeing those three letters, but they've been quite popular in 2021, which is the digital online collectibles. They did it with Panini. They were supposed to do it with Flow, which is the NBA Top Shots, and that seemed to have never taken off, which is weird because I was kind of involved with consulting on that. I mean, under the table or whatever you want to call it. So, but it should be an interesting year. I mean, this is the last. I'm not going to be doing one. It's Christmas this coming weekend, so we'll be doing the family and friends thing. I'm sure you all will too, and you won't be online looking for my talking head. But hopefully better things to come here at MMAnews.com. So make sure you like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. We'll have more content and interviews for you, done by the Canadian God James Lynch. I'll be chatting it up with you as long as y'all keep watching here at MMAnews.com. And if you want to see all of the other stuff I do, the podcast I do, make sure you give me a follow on Twitter. Have a happy holidays. Merry Christmas. I'll see you in the new year because there's nothing really going on for me to do a Sunday submission on Christmas weekend. It's weird. Christmas Eve is on a Friday, and so it's going to be a weird time. But um, I will definitely see you in 2022, especially if you give me a follow. So happy holidays, have Merry Christmas, or whatever it is you celebrate. Peace. I'm tapping out.